screen. People won't see any of this. Right, okay, we're going to play the intro into me, and then I'll introduce it, and off we go. So 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, recording. There, here we go. Right, that one there.
Welcome to How to Cut It in the Hairdressing Industry podcast. The show that gives you the insights, inspirations, and information to take your hairdressing and barbering careers to the next level. And here's your host, Dom Lehane.
Hey, and welcome along to the very first of our How to Cut It with Weller Professionals podcast series. Yes, this is where we are going to be bringing you 12 episodes over the next year, these series once a month, and we're going to be kicking off this with a hugely special guest, and actually somebody I've had the pleasure to interview now, I think around about 3 times, and yeah, he needs no introduction really, because all I can say is the current British Hairdresser of the Year, creative director for Robert Eaton Hair, and Weller Professionals UK and Ireland technical director. So welcome to the podcast, Mr. Robert Eaton.
Hi, Dom. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me again.
Mate, look, it's such a pleasure. And we did speak, if I remember rightly, was it 2019, Rob, where we done the Ask for Weller series? I think that was the last time that we done the podcast with yourself, and we brought you on. And here we are today. We're going to be doing another little bit of a series built around Weller Professionals. But, I mean, there's so much to cover. I mean, so much has happened to you, Rob, it would be fair to say, since the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
British Hairdresser of the Year.
What a sort of period of time this has been. I mean, winning the British Hairdressing Awards was amazing. In the midst of everything that's happening with COVID as well, which has been incredibly challenging for salons, and so many changes in the industry as well. So yeah, a lot to talk about today.
It is, and we're going to sort of talk in a little bit around the sort of the grey colour client services, and you know, your experiences of how things have been in COVID. How have your emotions been, Rob? In 1 minute, there I was that night that you won British Hairdresser of the Year, which I was just so excited when you won that, and then a few months later, we've entered this world of COVID. So, have you been able to enjoy being British Hairdresser of the Year?
Yeah, do you know what? Quite a few people have asked me that, and I have actually. I've had a great time. It's an experience that nobody can take away from me. It's something I've worked towards for a long time. It was such a fantastic evening and such an incredible experience to win. So yeah, that was an amazing sort of end to the year and the beginning of 2020. And obviously, we've all as an industry been thrown into turmoil and a real roller coaster, a mix of emotions with everything that's been COVID related. So as much as winning the awards, was great. I've probably not been able to maximise on it as much as I perhaps would have liked to have done with shows and events and physically seeing people. But it has actually been quite an interesting sort of way of changing that win and thinking of new opportunities and ways of sort of working with a win from there as well. So yeah, it's been a great few months, but obviously really, really challenging and stressful with everything that's been happening with COVID.
Yeah, I mean, tough times, Rob. So just to give the listeners a listen, I know we've done our very first podcast episode, which I'll put a link to that, and we got a real good story to you. But just for our listeners, I want them to understand where your businesses are first. So just explain where you're based.
Yeah, so we have 2 salons based in Yorkshire. We've got the existing business, which was established in Barnsley by my dad, and that's 44 years old now. So we're in the town centre, right in the heart of the town centre. And then 12 years ago, we opened our second salon, which is in Leeds City Centre. So we have 2 quite different businesses in some ways. The one in a smaller town and one in a very sort of busy, thriving city, which actually has thrown lots of different challenges through COVID as well, because it's really changed the way that we've had to think about how clients come as visitors, and also how we communicate with our clients to get them really engaged in coming back in to see us in the city centre as well. So yeah, I'm very fortunate and lucky to be part of a very strong family business, and we've all worked very hard over the years to establish what is a really strong foundation with the business. And then also from a creative perspective, we've gone in lots of different directions within the industry, and of course with Weller Professionals as well.
Cities. Now, I done an interview with Joe Mills for the How to Cut It podcast.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the difficulties he was facing in London, people coming into the cities. Have you noticed a real change of shift of patterns of people coming into the city?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as the guys in London have found out, and big cities across the UK, people are not working in city centres anymore. They're not coming in to go shopping anymore. So it's really changed the amount of footfall we get passing the salon. I mean, I've been very reassured by the amount of very loyal clients that have continued to come and visit and continue to come and see us. But it has been very difficult for us to keep, particularly some of our younger team members and younger graduate stylists, or what we call our new talent stylists. It's been very difficult to feed them lots of new clients because there's not as many people around on the streets at the moment. So I think it's the number one thing has been a confidence issue with people perhaps coming back into a city centre that they would perceive as being very busy with lots of people around, in a time where we're encouraged to social distance as much as possible. Whereas our Barnsley salon, being based in a slightly smaller town, we've perhaps found that that's benefited slightly from this. You know, we've had lots of people staying a bit closer to home, people wanted to come and support a local salon in a smaller town. So in some ways, we've kind of benefited slightly there, although that also has had its challenges as well. And then the other thing that we've also found, which again has been a slight positive to us in some ways, is that a lot of clients that maybe would have worked in London or travelled quite a lot because of work have actually stayed closer to home as well. So we've actually gained quite a lot of clients that maybe had their head in London and now are having it done back in at home or in Yorkshire.
That's really interesting, actually. As you know, a hairdresser myself, I've noticed that, you know, people are staying local. I guess the big change is the workforce, isn't it, Rob? And do lots of, you know, people, you know, in the Leeds location work within the city, and now they're working from home. How are you overcoming those challenges of actually making people feel safe in coming into your city centre salon?
So one of the biggest things we've done is try to be as open and transparent about everything we've done to provide a very safe and secure COVID-safe environment in the salon. So be very open about the precautions we've taken with PPE, some of the social distancing and the space that we've provided clients when they come in. We're very fortunate that the Leeds salon is a very big space. So we've really been able to adhere to the 2-metre distancing rule, and also just really kind of communicate to our clients before coming into the salon, whether that's by a phone call or sending them a message or some of our social media content, you know, what they can really expect when they come to see one of our stylists and the kind of security we can give them because of that. One of the biggest things that we found being a family business is that we really want to try to connect in a very personal way to our clients. So I've actually found picking the phone up and speaking to people and just reassuring them. And I kind of knew some of the clients that might have been a bit nervous about coming in beforehand. So I think that personal touch has really helped us to really establish a relationship with our clients of trust, and also them being able to come into the salon and actually kind of get back to some sort of normality with their appointments as well. I mean, one of the things we've noticed that it's an ever-changing situation as well. So what we're actually currently experiencing is the fact that Barnsley, Doncaster and South Yorkshire are in Tier 3, but Leeds is actually in Tier 2. So that's actually put more restrictions in place and, again, knocked confidence to a certain degree of people coming into Barnsley and to Leeds as well. So this constant communication that we needed to have with clients is really, really important as well.
How about that constant uncertainty, Rob? How is that for you as a salon owner of, you know, the business? How are you living with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of taking every sort of week at a time, really, and really focusing on what we can do with that week, what we can do to maximise the business that we're getting in. The number one thing that we're doing, though, is try to reassure our team. So I'm very sort of passionate about the team that we've built up between both salons. We're really looking at to have some amazing people that work with us. And the number one thing for me is that they feel secure and happy coming into the workplace, because if they're secure and happy with everything that we put in place, that will then be fed onto our clients as well. And I think they're our best advertisement for the sort of procedures that we put in place. And I think if we've got that strong team morale in the salons, and that team spirit is really, really high, or as high as we can possibly make it in such uncertain times. That really helps to keep a positive vibe happening in the salon as well. And that is really important, really, to try to stay as positive as possible. I mean, some of the more experienced team members that have worked for us, because we have team members that have been with us for many, many years, they've worked through recessions before, and they've perhaps experienced different things like this. But some of our younger team members, so our young talent stylists, our sort of graduates, our trainees, this is a new thing for them. They've not experienced anything like this before. So I think really providing them with the confidence and security that their training and education is still going to be really strong, and really trying to give them the sort of hope and the support that their job position is going to be there when we do eventually get through this. And I'm sure, very confident that we will. I just think that the marketplace out there might be quite different, and the high street might be quite different at the end of it.
Yeah, and we're going to go into the some service trends that you can offer, and certainly to how consumers are changing. But actually, I'm really interested to know, and I'm curious, what do you from where we are, Rob? What kind of changes do you think this will have permanently on salon businesses? Are there things that we are doing now that actually you might think that really works, and I don't want to go back to how it was, pre-COVID?
That's a really interesting point, really, because I think there are some changes that we've certainly made in our salon that I can actually not imagine as going back to what we did before. So space, for example, is the one thing that I think is a lot of clients have actually really liked. So whereas we would have normally had chairs like maybe a metre and a half apart, we've now got 2 metres plus between people. And clients really like that spacious feel and not being kind of crammed in together in a very busy, chaotic salon environment. So as much as we'll have to get back to having more chairs in the salon and trying to get more clients in at the same time, perhaps, I think there's a lot of positivity that's come from that as well. The number one thing I think has happened as well for us is the communication with our team members as well, and what they want to get from the careers as well. I think having that break and pressing pause for a bit during lockdown made a lot of team members really think differently about their careers, what they wanted to get from their life, and really sort of think about their work-life balance. And some of the biggest things that we've done as a result of that, and to also help us with social distancing, is to really think about the work-life balance and the flexibility that we can give our team members. And I think that has been something that's really been positively received by them. And I think also from a business perspective moving forward, I think will be a positive move for the business as well, spreading the workload out more evenly across the week, and making sure that certainly stylists that have been with us for a number of years and have built a strong client base have got the flexibility to work in a different way to what they did before.
And there has been just so much negativity, and I don't want to get too drawn on COVID, but I was so keen to just talk about how you are as a city centre businesses, and but actually, what positive experiences, Rob, would you say that can come from where we are, and actually people that are listening in salon owners, hairdressers, what positivity could we take away from how the current climate is now?
I think one of the things that we can all take away is that it's been a pause and a break that's been forced upon us all. And it's an opportunity to really sit back and think about our businesses, think about what we're doing individually as hairdressers. Do we need to improve our skill sets in certain areas? Do we need to change some parts of our business? Do we need to increase the work-life balance that we have? And I think it's really been an opportunity for us to be able to do that and make a meaningful change to our careers moving forward, whatever level of hairdresser, or what stage of your career that you're in. So even for myself, I ordered a mannequin head. I practiced lots of things that actually I never get time to do normally in the salon. You're busy doing lots of different things. One of the biggest things I found as well is even doing things such as we're doing now. So doing lives on Instagram. I never used to do that sort of thing. Whereas now actually it's just become the norm. And hairdressers have almost become so used to doing it.
We were saying that, weren't we, Rob, before we came into this? I said, how many interviews you've done? But actually, all these things have just so changed our industry like never before, and so quickly.
I think, and one of the great things I noticed about during lockdown was the hairdressing community across brands and, whichever, manufacturer you work with, which other hairdressers you knew, it was great to see that support between everybody in the hairdressing community, because this is something that's affected us all. It's not that it's kind of another salon in the town that you're in, or a stylist that it's every single one of us has been affected in some way by this whole situation and the challenges that it's faced us all. So to be able to see that kind of community and to chat to everybody and listen to everybody's experiences has been really, really interesting. And I think those connections that have been made through that time are probably going to be really valuable as well. And I know you asked about, winning at the awards, and did that affect my year? And actually, in some ways, there's a lot of positives that came from that, because I made a different kind of connections with different people, different journalists, and spoke to people in different ways. So I think, there's a lot of positives that have come from that communication as well.
No, fantastic. So before we move on then really to kind of the service trends, and I'm keen to go into that.
Yeah.
What tips and advice would you just give to any hairdressers just facing tough times right now?
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's a really difficult time at the moment. There's going to be lots of people out there that are listening to this now thinking, God, I'm really having a tough time with my business. I'm really struggling with some of the restrictions and the regulations that we're having to follow, or getting incredibly frustrated by what's happening. And I think one of the things is that we're all sharing those concerns. Some of us in different levels. If you've got a big salon, you might be concerned about it in a different way to if it's a smaller salon, or if you're just working on your own, you might feel quite lonely and a bit kind of lost with all this that's happening and the information that we're having to take on board. I think one of the main things is to keep talking to each other as an industry and listening to the advice that's out there. We've been very lucky that manufacturers, and I know Weller have been doing an amazing job with this, with communicating some of the information that we need, and also just adapting what we do to suit the client. And I think that is the number one thing in all this, is remembering the client within this as well. Dom, I'm very passionate about being a salon-based hairdresser, and although I do a lot of creative work, my heart is always in the salon and what I do, looking after the client every single day. And I think the number one thing that we've got to do with this is to make sure we still do incredible work, continually develop our skills, make sure that as an industry we're creating the very best work and projecting the industry in the most positive way. And I think ultimately when we do get through this, that'll be remembered by clients as well.
Yeah, and you were just sort of saying about clients and their demands, and it's all about their behaviour.
Yeah.
Is there a change to clients' trends and behaviours to what there was maybe when we were, again, I keep using the word pre-COVID, but now post-COVID?
Yeah.
Is there a growing trend that you're noticing within colour behaviour for clients, Rob?
Yeah, I think the whole industry has developed into a very mixed and varied skill set with colour. So everything from the classic work that we've always done, highlights and regrowth tints, and the work that you'd always associate with a hairdressing salon, through to the incredibly skilled freehand and balayage work that really has taken everywhere by storm and will continue to be a huge part of what we do in the industry. Across lots of different age groups. But one of the big things that I've noticed on our return to work, and some of the conversations I'd had certainly with journalists and clients during lockdown, was, again, it was this chance to really press pause and reassess where people were at with their hair. And a lot of people have taken the opportunity to embrace what their natural hair texture is doing, but also embrace their natural hair colour as well. And we're doing a great deal of colour correction, but also a great deal of what we call sort of blending services, glossing services, and moving away from high commitment colour to very conscious colour placement, and the kind of colour placement that really gives the clients the flexibility to have something that has more longevity and grows out with ease, but also has something that looks amazing and looks really, really stylish and fresh and healthy, and introduces something from a colour perspective that makes it interesting for them as well.
Yeah, and you talk about this blending, and something that I think is really particular, and again, I've noticed that as a hairdresser myself, is the growing trend towards grey. I think, again, lots of women were really starting to go down this pathway, thinking, actually, my grey is growing out. And I know I'm getting asked a lot, how can they enhance this? And I know Weller are really trying to go down this sort of grey blending services, Rob. So maybe you could just sort of overview a little bit about this and just go a little bit more in depth about how this could work for salons and hairdressers.
Yeah, so grey blending actually I think is a really exciting opportunity for salons and for hairdressers, because it is a trend that's been happening for a little while, and it's kind of been out there in the industry, but not become as big as it is at the moment. So grombre, or growing out grey and white hair, has been a movement with women for quite some time, but this has seen it become a bit more mainstream. So really being able to be quite excited about what your natural hair colour looks like, enhancing your natural hair colour, and thinking about techniques to really maximise the way that that looks has become quite a big priority for clients. The number one way of doing this is to think about blending services. So it's actually something that's quite new and quite exciting and quite different for a lot of clients. And it shouldn't really be seen as not colouring your hair anymore, because a lot of hairdressers might be out there thinking, actually, I don't want my clients to stop colouring my hair. This is my business. I want them to keep coming in. It's just about looking at new and exciting ways for clients to embrace their natural hair colour, but still enhancing and making it look better. So one example of this would be to use an alumina glossing service. So an alumina colour creates an incredible shine, really, really beautifully, delicately toned, and you can create the most perfect ash grey shades. And what you can do with this is to actually blend and sort of smudge together old colour that might look quite tired and quite brassy into the regrowth that is growing through with lots of other tones, so enhancing grey and white areas or sections of hair that want to be made look a little bit brighter again. And it's just a different way of approaching colour, really. And something that, as I said, rather than fighting something that a client wants, it's really working with that and offering them solutions that really fit their lifestyle better now as well.
Yeah, and I think from the point of getting clients coming in is actually getting your team to understand how to communicate to clients on that. And again, from my point of view, so often I hear clients say, what can we do? I mean, how do we communicate these ideas to clients? So what you're talking, and we're talking very hairdressy here, how do we put that in a very simple layman's term for clients, and for them to feel excited by it and to be sold these kind of looks that we all want them to be wearing?
Yeah, so for me, visuals are the most important thing to do that, really. We've actually just recently worked on a shoot that I'm really, really proud of, actually. I can't wait for everybody to see, in association with Weller Professionals that bring these services to life. So we've actually worked on 4 models that really bring to life some of the key elements of what I'm talking about here with grey blending, and actually work on a different age group than you would normally see in the regular kind of campaigns by a manufacturer. So I'm really excited and actually really grateful that Weller have actually done this for the industry as well, because and I hope the industry like what we've created with these images, because they are some looks that I personally am really, really proud of. And one of the things that I hope that salons and hairdressers like out there as well is that 2 of the models in this campaign are actually 2 clients from our own salon that have been visiting us for about 10 years. So it kind of is real life stuff. So it's things that we are doing in our own salon that I know will relate to hairdressers on a daily basis and the kind of work that they're seeing. The other thing that hopefully anybody watching this will be able to do at some point when this is finished is that I've actually reworked our website so that it becomes much more consumer focused. And this will be an example of how I think clients and hairdressers can get inspired by these new techniques. But number one thing is that clients can visit it and get really motivated to ask for these new services. And I think very often as hairdressers, we talk in hairdressing language. We talk about services that sound very hairdressing focused. And we forget that a client might be sat there not understanding what we're saying or getting what this is about. So the more we visualize this and talk to them in a way that they really understand, and show them results that really inspire them, the more that we'll see this area of the business develop further. And the number one thing that I think we're doing is, it's not to say that we're telling everybody to grow their hair colour out or to go into grey blending, because it really isn't. It's really on the right people and the people at the right stage of their life or the right point in their sort of hair to be able to embrace this new movement in hair colour. There'll be lots of clients that continue doing exactly what they've always done. And I think that's what's so exciting about the hairdressing industry and the work that we all do in our salons, is it's so varied now as well. It's not just about highlights and regrowth tints. It's not even just about balayage anymore. It's about everything. And I think that's what makes the world of working in a salon or the world of a hairdresser so great.
Do you know, Rob, you're so right, and I've had the pleasure we've done a Weller colour conversation live and with Jordana Cabello, and she was talking about colours and the excitement. And actually, before coming on to do this interview today with you, I went on to Weller Professionals YouTube channel, and certainly I will direct you all their listeners to that channel. But it got me so damn excited about colour because, and what I love about what Weller Professionals are doing is the taste level, for starters, is spot on because it's so beautiful and commercial. But I love what you're doing, that you're creating looks that are really, really salon friendly, but exciting for a hairdresser. And that is so important, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. And I think, as I mentioned before, my heart is very much with salon-based hairdressers and with hairdressers that are working on clients every single day, whether they're freelance or working in a salon. And I think it's all about providing those people with techniques and inspiration that relate to what a client's going to ask for. So I've been really fortunate to be able to work on some of the colour campaigns with Weller Professionals over the last couple of years. So everything from their No Strings Attached campaign, which was very much about glossing and really creating immaculate, beautiful hair using Coliston Perfect. Also on an express highlighting service, which we did throughout the summer. And then, as I said, with this grey blending shoot, which I'm particularly excited about. And like I said, I can't wait for everybody to see it.
You keep teasing us with that, Rob. I'm dying to want to see that as well. When will that
I really
be
hope everybody like it, actually, because it is one of those shoots that you do at the end of it. I think, actually, do you know that? Well, I'm really, really happy with what we've achieved there. I think the collaboration and the timing of all of this as well, with us coming out of lockdown, it's a movement in hair colour. Not even, I don't like to use the word trend because it's not really a trend as such. It's just a move in a different direction with hair colour that hairdressers can really embrace. And also from a business perspective, it's something new and exciting that we can kind of really get our heads around and talk about to clients that really drive stylists and salon business to really get clients appreciating what professional hair colour is all about and the results that you can get from it. And sometimes it's kind of thinking about, as you said, about from a taste level perspective, sometimes less is more with colour as well. Sometimes placing colour in exactly the right place can be so impactful as well. It can really work with a hair color. It can really enhance somebody's texture. And I really think that this campaign is very much about that.
Yeah, well, it certainly comes over to me, and actually, I think when you're talking to clients, Rob, the best advice that you could give to salon and hairdressers when explaining these colours, certainly when we're talking to these grey blending services, is to put it in language that they understand, not hairdressing jargon. And what tips would you give in explaining that to clients? Is there any sort of key words that you would use?
So the number one tip I would give with this actually is listening to your client to begin with. So really finding out whether that client is the right client for this. So not everybody will want to become grey or grow their hair out. Clients will be at a certain point in their life. They might have coloured their hair for many years, decades. They'll have really probably experimented with hair colour. And this is something that moves them in a different direction. And for me, with any client that comes to us, we always think about creating a colour journey or a colour plan. So if somebody is wanting to work along the lines of trying to grow out their natural hair colour a little bit, or embracing grey blending, or just working with colour placement, it's not going to happen overnight. So it could be something that takes up to a year to create over several visits. So really giving those clients that colour journey and that colour plan is something that really excites them and keeps them wanting to come back to salons more. And actually that in turn then drives our colour business and makes it stronger and builds more client loyalty. Even from a tonal perspective, grey actually is one of the hardest colours to create. And it's also one of the hardest colours to create amazing longevity with as well. So one of the things that we found when we've been working with anybody that's working down the grey blending route and perhaps thinking about highlights and lowlights and changing the way that they would normally approach their hair colour is that we're actually seeing people coming in for glossing services or our colour blow dries in between. And again, that's an amazing way of us getting that client back into the salon a bit more frequently, introducing them to different team members that work for us. So for us at the moment, one of my key objectives, particularly coming out of COVID, and the period that we're in at the moment, is to really support and encourage our graduates and new talent stylists and try to feed them clients as well that help to keep them motivated, keep them busy, and to keep their place secure within our salon environment. So it's a great way of actually encouraging people to visit your salon more and to experience different people who work for you as well. So we've almost created new services within the salon because of it.
Everybody wins there, Rob. Clients win.
Yeah, win-win all round.
It is. It's absolutely fantastic. And I love what you're just saying there about your team and your apprentices and getting them excited and engaged and getting them involved in these services is a great step forward in their colouring journey as a hairdresser.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, for a younger hairdressing experience in this as well, hairdressers that have been around for a bit longer and have worked through different periods of the hairdressing industry. So whether it was the permanent industry, whether it was lots of highlights in the 90s, whether it's been this balayage period of time where we're doing lots of work like this, is just a different part of what's happening in the industry at the moment. And it's a move towards a different way of working. And again, that's not to say that everybody's going to take on the board this kind of this movement in hair, but it's definitely about thinking differently about hair and how people are wearing their hair at the moment as well. Yeah. I mean, one of the ways I've related this to our team as well is if you think about the way lots of people are communicating now. So if you're office-based and you're working from home now rather than going into the office, you might be doing lots of Zoom calls. So actually the need to spend as much time blow-drying your hair to go in as you would do perhaps going into work has changed. People might have a slightly more casual approach to the way that their hair looks. So I think, it's important to understand what people are doing when they wear their hair, the way they dress their hair. They still want it to look amazing, but they're actually probably looking at themselves on a screen like we're doing at the moment, not more than they are in real life, seeing people in an office environment. So I think it's important to think about how colour services and colouring techniques and the hairdressing industry generally fits into people's lifestyles now and what people are doing with their hair, and make sure we're adapting our services to suit that as well.
Yeah, because culturally everything is just changed in such a gigantic shift. I'm sure in your time as a hairdresser, and certainly my time as a hairdresser, Rob, I don't think we've ever seen such a shift in cultural behaviour in people. But that's an exciting thing to come out of all of this, I believe.
Yeah, nothing stays the same forever, does it? So change is always good. It's important to embrace those changes and to think about how you can adapt your business to suit what people's lifestyles are throwing at them and what they're wanting to achieve from their hair as well. And I think at the end of this, we will have, hopefully as an industry, all have learnt lots of new skills, lots of education that we'll have seen. I mean, I know you mentioned some of the amazing education that Weller are providing at the moment, either on their website or the social media channels. And I think all of these things that people are watching will actually make hairdressers far stronger when we eventually come through the other side of this, on whatever that's going to look like. Right. We'll be better positioned to be able to really look after our clients in a new and different way than we have been doing previously.
Yeah, and you mentioned nothing stays the same, and certainly I've never seen so many techniques coming out of hairdressing now, and around these blending services. Just give our listeners a quick overview to maybe some techniques that they could look out for or maybe consider when doing these services.
So as I mentioned before, the number one thing really is to listen to what your client wants to achieve and what their goal is with it. So is it longevity from their hair color? Is it something that's brighter around their face? Is it something that's deeper and adds more depth to the haircut by adding darker tones? And I think for me, the number one thing is having the confidence to be able to charge correctly for perfect application of colour. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily have to be lots and lots of colour. As hairdressers, we might sometimes think we've got to put lots and lots of colour into somebody's hair to give them value for money. But actually, somebody who's working with grey blending, less is sometimes more. They would value that expert eye saying to somebody, look, let's leave these areas alone, but let's enhance these parts of your haircut. And that might be really assessing what somebody's hairline's like, looking for the areas of grey and white that are the highest density and whether they're the most prominent, and actually working with really carefully and expertly placed highlights to enhance and embrace those sections of hair. And that in turn will actually give a colour result that has far more longevity to a client, really kind of grows out with ease, and also gives something that has perhaps a higher taste level as well. And sometimes when you're trying to change hair, particularly on a client that might be a little bit older, and make it something that it's not meant to be, it's actually quite a brave move to say to a client, look, let's work with what's happening with your hair now. Let's make the most of this. Let's not try to make it look like it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but let's make it something that's current now. And I think that is something that's really important, that hairdressers have to kind of learn how to communicate to a client and get that message across.
And how are these services driving your business, Rob?
For me, it's a really valuable part of our entire colour business. So, we've still got a strong core base of clients that want to come in and have regrowth colours, for example, of highlights, of balayage. And this is just a very new and different section to that business. And it's something that's grown quite dramatically since lockdown. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens as we move out of this initial period of the transition process, getting people from heavily, densely coloured hair to something that's a bit more multitonal. But I know we'll adapt these services and make sure that we can engage with our clients to get them to come into the salon and still be excited about what we're doing from a salon perspective and a technique perspective. I think from a home care perspective and a retail point of view, this will be an exciting opportunity as well, because people, although they may want to perhaps not visit the salon as much to have the 4 weekly regrowth appointment, for example, they may spend the money in a different way in the salon by purchasing home care or thinking about the other services that we offer to our clients as well. So I think it's really been very open about everything you offer in your salon, or if you're freelance, all the different things that you can offer clients, and just trying to make sure that they're aware of those things as well. And I mentioned earlier on about hairdressing language and how we all talk. It's easy for us to think that a client knows what's out there from a technique perspective, or what we could, what they could ask for. It's up to a hairdresser to educate them and tell them what they can have and advise and plant that kind of idea in their mind, so that they go away thinking, actually, that could work for me, or I'm going to go back and get that done. And actually, have the confidence to recognize that hairdressing not only provides them with amazing hair, but it's an incredible experience to come and sit down and just have a bit of time on their own, or in a salon environment that's got other people as well, and just relax and enjoy having their hair done as well. So there's lots of different elements to engaging with clients with new services and techniques.
I'll tell you what always comes to my mind is when you talk about this, and you can get blown away by so much of these incredible techniques and colours are out there. And again, some of our listeners or viewers, whichever way you're watching this, what would you say to people if they're thinking, gosh, I'm still just a highlighter and a colour, but I really want to go into this path and I want to be so much more to me as a colourist? What advice would you give to them, Rob?
So the number one thing is education. So to really think about your skill set and what your weaker areas are, how you can change that. Look at the education that's available. So in this instance, the Weller professionals, some of the online content. Think about joining the Weller hair community on Facebook as well. So Andrew Dunn does an amazing job really engaging with thousands of hairdressers, and really helping to educate them and really kind of bring them up to date with everything that's out there in the industry as well, from a technique and a product perspective, but also being part of a community where you can share ideas as well, the positives and the negatives, because as we all know, nothing always goes perfectly in hairdressing, and there's sometimes a lot you can learn from things that go wrong as well. So that's an amazing thing that people should think about joining as well. But really, the main thing is to just stay as kind of up to date and positive about all the different things that are out there in the industry. And you probably will always have techniques that you feel more comfortable with. And not everybody is going to be incredible at balayage. Not everybody will be incredible at doing highlights and baby lights. There'll be people that really specialize in those different areas. And I think that's actually what's happened as an industry as well. We've got specialists within certain specialism areas. So even within colour, there's specialists in balayage, specialists in highlights, specialists in grey blending, specialists working with curly hair and textured hair. So there's lots of different things that people can learn about now. And the more of these kind of areas you master, the better hairdresser you'll become.
Yeah, and I think like you just take baby steps if you are on this sort of new journey, isn't it? And I think that's really important. Don't blow yourself away. And again, I can't recommend people enough to go and check out the YouTube channel, because certainly because I've got a real flavour of everything that Weller Professionals Colour is all about, and some great techniques on there. But when we're back to the clients, Rob, in terms of like when they're going on a journey with a colour, it's not always get it there. But that's really important, isn't it, in a rebooking system as well? And how important is that to your business on getting that client on a journey and rebooking them? How do you take them on that?
Yeah, so it is really important, actually, Dom, and I'm glad you sort of brought that question up, because really getting clients to commit to future appointments and understanding the work that goes into creating a certain look is really, really important. So consultation is one of the key parts to explaining any kind of colour service. Now, this has been a very notable point to remember through the kind of balayage period that we're still kind of working on, because that very often has to evolve and develop over several applications of colour and several visits to the salon. And it never really stops, because you need to give that client the inspiration and the idea of how many appointments they will need per year to be able to maintain their hair. This is the same with grey blending. So it's not going to happen straight away. Sometimes it's a year, 2 years, or even longer to move and transition from what might be a global application of colour to something that's more broken up with highlights and lowlights, and then eventually to become a grey blending service. So it's actually quite exciting to start that client off on that journey and to really secure those appointments in place, so they know that they have to either come every 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks to get some appointments. They may even want to commit to booking out a full day with a stylist to really work through some of the techniques to get them to a look very, very quickly. And either way, you know that you're kind of committing to getting those appointments from a client, but also to think about the revenue and the money that you can earn from that particular technique or that particular journey of hair color. And I think that's one of the things that is so important to understand, is that it's not just one appointment. Don't overpromise what you can achieve. Make sure it's very realistic and that a client understands, and you manage their expectations as to what can be a sort of achievable. And we're obviously in a period now where you might look on Instagram and see these instant changes of hair color that actually could have taken several hours in a salon. And I think clients don't always recognise or see that, think anything's possible. And as much as hairdressers, we try our best to do what we can to sort of live up to everybody's expectations. Managing them is very important as well.
Yeah, and I think what's actually I've noticed has so changed in our industry, certainly over the last 5 years, because of the development of colouring, the techniques. One time it was almost like there's an hour appointment for a client, and that was it for the colour. But now which it was, wasn't it? Book them in and there you go. But clients are becoming more and more used to this, coming in for a day. Because they're all talking between their friends, I guess, and saying, well, I was at my salon for a day, and I know many leading colourists like yourself, Rob. That's pretty much coming to normal, and that's great for a salon business, isn't it?
Absolutely. And again, this is one of the biggest things we've probably seen post-lockdown as well, actually, that because there were quite a lot of big changes with hair colour, and so they'd not had their hair coloured for quite a long time, a lot of hairdressers and salons that have been successful since lockdown have actually recognised that you need to book out more time and need to spend more time with people and really maximise on that appointment as well, and also be able to charge more for it. So our clients have almost become educated in the sense that this is an experience when you go to a salon. It's an experience and a very valuable amount of time that they're spending to get their hair right. As a result of that, their expectations are high, and they will quite rightly want the results to look incredible and get great longevity from them. But it has definitely changed the way that hairdressers are working, and given us the opportunity really to work in a way that we've probably always wanted to work. We've always wanted to spend a lot more sort of quality time with a client, not just a 45-minute to an hour appointment and then on to the next person. Yeah. It's something that for many hairdressers, we've longed to do this for many years. So I think it's been a great opportunity for us moving forward. And I actually think that's one of the biggest things that will come from this, is that, people will value what hairdressers do and the time that they put into the client's hair, and hairdressers will value that time that we can spend with that person and make sure we deliver not only amazing hair, but an incredible experience in the salon as well, and really kind of tick off all the things that we wanted to create that perfect experience.
Yeah, and isn't that so great for our industry, isn't it? That we can work more like this and this is the only way that I guess we see our industry becoming even better, because gradually clients become more and more used to this high quality service. Don't just squeeze another one in the middle of a column. This is
Yeah.
you may be fully booked for the day, but you've only got 2 people in, but isn't that a
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
refreshing way, because and you charge for these services, and it's about offering all that to your clients and your business.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what? One of the things that's important to remember with that as well, it's having that confidence to charge for what you're doing. So, recognizing that you are spending several hours looking after somebody, making their hair look amazing, you are spending that time really sort of demonstrating the expertise and the years of experience that you've built up to get to that point. And I think it's important for hairdressers to really have the confidence to do that, because very often I think as an industry we don't, we undersell ourselves. We don't really kind of think that we're worthy of charging a certain amount of money, and often think that our clients won't recognise that either. And don't get me wrong, there'll be some clients that don't want to pay more for certain things, but you can build and develop your client base into whatever you want it to be. So as I said before, there are specialists in certain areas of the colour industry now. There's nothing wrong with developing your client base to really represent the kind of work that you want to show and the time that you want to spend with somebody. For us in our salon, it's a blend of both, really. So we have some days where we will still work on a normal appointment system and probably do hourly appointments and work through clients as you would normally. But then also it's nice to intermix these longer experiences for clients that really mix and blend together everything we do as a salon to make sure we provide the very best service and the very best hair for that individual that visits us.
God, it feels so good. It makes me feel a bit, when I listen to you, Rob, it's like the food industry now. When you listen to these high-end restaurants and how they describe their food, and I feel like as an industry we're kind of catching up here, and that's so good. We're not talking kebab shops here. We're talking high-end, beautiful restaurants, and actually that's what people want to pay for.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm quite interested about this change, and I guess this is going back to the whole city thing and who's coming into cities now, is that I think a hairdressing experience is just that. It's an experience, and we're alongside restaurants and some of the high-end shops in the sense that people are going to make that effort to come and really enjoy that meal that they've gone for, really enjoy coming in to get their hair done, really enjoy walking around the shops and sort of experiencing what is in a town or city centre. And although the internet and online shopping has really changed people's mindsets in how often they may visit, I think what will happen is that we will see people really valuing the experiences that shops, restaurants and hairdressers offer people when they come to see them in towns and city centres. And I think it's our time to really make the most of this, really.
Oh, I'm having a lovely time here, Rob, just listening to you. It's so knowledgeable. I feel excited listening to you, and I hope our listeners get that as well. So sort of nearing towards the end of the interview, there's just a couple more points that I just want to ask you. And one of those is retail as well. Is that being really important to you as well in terms of your business right now? And just give us a quick overview to that.
Yeah, so again, this all contributes to the client experience. So again, I think it's a client's expectation now that we offer solutions to problems that they may have with their hair at home. This is about listening to them again, thinking about what they do with their hair, making sure that we advise and recommend what we think would make their life easier and make their hair look better. As a salon, we have a strong retail business, but one of the things that I'm very keen on is that we're not pushy with it either. It's very much about recommending what we think and making sure we have the solutions there for people. And I think it's important to do that, really. One of the things that we found when we first came back after the lockdown period was that everybody was buying retail from us as well. And part of that, I think, was because nobody spent much, they'd not been anywhere, they wanted to treat themselves. But also the fact they wanted to support us as well. I really feel and sense that some clients probably didn't need to buy what they bought, but they wanted to support the business by investing in home care. So that was actually a great opportunity, because lots of people are now hooked on what we do. So we're hooked on what we sell. So it's just continuing with that, really, as well. But I think it is an important part of what we offer as hairdressers to our clients. It's an important element of the service. And I think whatever techniques you're working on, whether this is more high maintenance colour, or whether it is working with these new and exciting techniques related to grey blending, there are retail solutions that go alongside them that really help to make that colour look amazing for longer, really help to nourish and protect people's hair, but also from a business perspective, and even just a customer service perspective, you're really kind of providing your client with that extra level of service by making sure that they're leaving with everything they need to look after their hair at home.
Yeah, and clients would expect it to be advised on products, Rob.
I think they would now. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely if you're working on a longer appointment, and if you think about what a client would expect at the end of that appointment, if you spent 3, 4, 5, 6 hours on somebody's hair, the least you could probably do at the end of that is to make sure that they're going home with everything they need to look after it. So whether that's shampoo and conditioner. Weller have just also launched the incredible Colour Fresh masks, which I'm really excited about from a retail perspective, because they're an amazing opportunity to send somebody home with something that will really make a visual impact to their hair and help to look after the tonal quality of the colour that you provided with for them as well, particularly for blondes and sort of more high maintenance colours as well. So, it really is thinking about all the different options that we've got available to us to really maximise on the kind of spend that people are going to have with us when they visit salons or when they visit an individual looking after that client.
Yeah, and again, listeners, don't worry, we'll put all the links in the show notes, we'll signpost you everywhere, but the main place for any of this really is weller.com. Head over there and all the information, education, the products that you're talking about, yeah, brilliant on there. So final questions, actually, Rob. You don't know I'm going to ask you this, but that's just, I want to ask you this. What is your favourite technique for blending? You can only pick one. Which one do you just think, I absolutely love that blending technique?
I would say twist toning. So this is something where if anybody's not seen that, you can see this on what's coming soon with our Weller Professionals campaign. So another little teaser of what you can see there. But
I was going to say, you keep teasing us.
This combines a technique that kind of combines two passions for me. So one is blending and working with colour in a really blended and soft way, so twisting the product into hair, but also working with textured and natural curls and any form of textured hair. It's a technique that works across the board. So it's something that's incredible for smooth and straight hair, but also for curly and textured hair as well. And our curly hair clients often feel left out with techniques because there's not as many techniques out there in a structured kind of way for curly hair. So this is something that works amazingly for them.
And my last question to you, what is the favourite colour when you come to grey blending? Come on, reveal them. Your favourite?
I've definitely, do you know what, my favourite two colours actually to create the perfect grey is Illumina Colour 1069, and I mix 6/16 into that as well. Anybody who knows me in the salon knows that it's my kind of go-to formula, and I tend to intermix other shades into that as well to make either a more beige type grey, sometimes something that's a bit more of a navy infused grey, and sometimes even a more of a pinky minky kind of grey as well. But I would say that is my number one kind of perfect grey blending tone. And again, there's always, this is a bit of a plug here for some of my courses as well, but I do Weller courses at Manchester, Dublin, London and Edinburgh as well. And we often share formulations, techniques and ways of working with hair. And mine is very much salon focused or very much hairdresser focused. So things hopefully people can use as well.
And where can we send
people? And of course,
also,
you can always reach out to me on social media as well if you felt that you needed to do that with any advice. I'm always happy to chat to hairdressers as well.
Absolutely. Come on, Rob, then where do we send them? Give a shout out where we can find you online.
So my personal one is Robert J. Eaton. Our salon is Russell Eaton. You can find me on Facebook as well, and also through Weller Professionals as well. So booking courses, visit their website. Look at their education book. I know the team at Weller have been working really hard at some really exciting things for next year with education at Weller as well. So yeah, watch that space for all of those things as well.
Absolutely top stuff. And yeah, Weller Hair UKI social media, I believe.
Yes.
So if you want to go and find out on that, weller.com, YouTube channel, we'll put all of the links in there. And listeners, I can't recommend that you go and check out enough of this on what Weller professionals are doing right now, certainly with these colour techniques. They are so advanced with their ideas and forward thinking, and working with some of the greatest names certainly out there in world hairdressing, and particularly with you, Rob, British Hairdresser of the Year. Wow, that's a coup. And
thank you.
it's been great, Rob. One last final takeaway from everything that we chatted to our listeners today. What would be that one big, juicy, big takeaway for them?
I think that, the main thing is to be excited about what is a really interesting and changing period of time in the hairdressing industry. And I really recognise, along with everybody else, that this is hard. It's hard going at the minute, and there's a lot of changes happening. But I do think we'll get through it. I think we'll be stronger at the end of it. There's a lot of exciting opportunities to come. And to really think about what we're sharing with you with this grey blending concept, and think about how you can introduce it to your clients as a really positive way of really updating your business and what we're doing from a client perspective to keep them really engaged with us as hairdressers and stylists as well.
I've had a wonderful time in your company, Rob. It's been great way to kick off the first of our 12 parts How to Cut It with Weller Professionals podcast series. And I think this is now, about third, fourth time I've had the honour to interview you, and I never get tired of it. So thank you very much for sharing so much great content with us, Rob. It's been an absolute pleasure today.
No, thank you for having me. Always great to catch up, Tom, so thank you.
Finished.